Joanna, so busy body, busy tonight. Joanna, making all the dummy tonight. Joanna, your busy body giving me life, oh, hey life, hey. Why you do me like Joanna, Joanna? Why you do me like Joanna, Joanna? Why you gonna do me like Joanna, Joanna? Hey Joanna, Joanna. Ay, ay, ay. Hey. How you gonna play me like Drogba, ho? How you gonna do me like Drogba, ho? Oh, DJ Drogba, ho. Yeah, DJ Drogba, ho. Joanna, so busy body, busy tonight. Joanna, making all the dummy tonight. Joanna, your busy body giving me life, hey life, why you do me like?
Drop to the beat, drop to the beat, drop to the beat, drop to the beat, move to the beat, move to the beat, move to the beat, move to the beat. You gotta drop to the beat, drop to the beat, drop to the beat, drop to the beat, move to the beat, move to the beat. You gotta hit the floor, explore some more, 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 some more. And it goes a little something like this.
Mic check. Hello. What's up, everybody? What's going on? It is 1 o'clock. I'm trying to have this webinar today that we might be able to kind of see what it takes to get online. So what I'm doing here is I was having a conversation with one of my colleagues today, Pastor Orville Brissett, and we were talking about the challenges that we have with preparing for ministry. And so I wanted to get on today and share with you all what I know about getting online and streaming. So we're gonna wait for a few minutes. I know it's kind of a last minute little thing, but I wanted to at least try to do a little something on behalf of the pastors out there. I've been streaming on from my church. I've been streaming. We've been online probably for a year or so, live, maybe 2 years. And I love technology, and so one of my passions is actually helping people to do things in technology that will help them in their ministry. And so, as Orville and I was talking, he was sharing with me how much help I was providing to him. So it occurred to me that perhaps maybe there's some others out there who would like to know what it takes to stream. So listen, if you're on Facebook, or if you're on my Facebook page, or if you are on my YouTube channel, please text in your name. Please let me know you're there so that I don't know that I'm on by myself. I think right now we've got one viewer so far. So we're going to wait a little bit and see how many people are up and at 'em and willing to come on as we talk about the technology and what it takes to be real, to do streaming in this day and age. Excuse me. So come on in. If you are getting online, we're going to wait a little bit. See how many people want to actually join the party. Yup. Let's see what we got going on here. Bruce, what's up, dude? Bess, what's up, man? Okay, yeah, man. What's up, Chris? Yo, looks like we got a few people on. All right, all right. I needed to come over to the other side because you guys weren't showing up in my you weren't showing up on my stream within the production software, but that's okay. That's all right, man. We about to do it. Like, there we go. There we go. Okay, now we go. We rolling. All right, yo. So listen, man, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Bess is here. Christopher Clark Sr. here. Bruce, what's up, Bruce? Yo, man, I'm glad you all are here. Listen, I want to begin with a quick word of prayer, and we will kind of get into this tech thing real easily and real quickly. It's not as hard as you think, man, and you may be pleasantly surprised to understand that what we're doing here is truly easy to accomplish, and it's fun for me, man. I'm having a great time. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll have a word of prayer. Father, we want to thank you for the opportunity we have right now as pastors to jump on into this social media world, Lord, and to take part in a quick little seminar that talks about how we can take our ministries outside the building and be remotely engaged with individuals. And so, God, I ask that your spirit will be with us. I ask, God, that you continue to bless our conference, bless our ministries as well. And God, most importantly, we're asking for the hand of favor and blessing to be upon our church families. God, and our members, we are truly, Lord, in a different place right now. And we definitely need the hand of healing and the hand of protection to be upon your people. For God, during this season of being outside the four walls, it exactly can be a rich blessing to us, God, in our ministries. And we just pray, God, that as we're in this season of remote connection, we ask that you would lead and guide us and be with us. And we thank you for this webinar that we have. In Jesus Christ's name we do pray. Amen. Amen. All right, beloved. So listen, this is what we gotta do. I got a really easy and short agenda. Basically, I want to welcome everybody to this first little quick webinar. It's called live streaming for pastors, and what I want to do is spend a few minutes sharing with you what it takes to actually stream from a remote location. It can be your house, it can be on your cell phone, it can be even remotely. When I say remotely, you could be at your church, but there's nobody in the church, and you still need to be able to manage running a stream. This past Sabbath, what I did was we shut our building down. There was nobody actually in the church building. I came home to my home studio and I set everything up, and I actually did a service right here from this desk for my members. And I mean, we was actually online probably a good hour and a half. And there were some unique things that I did and I tried in this service that I had wanted to experiment with, and some of it worked, brethren, and some of it was horrible. The stream wasn't as quality as I thought it might be, and some of my members were having some challenges doing the viewing, and so I learned a few things over the weekend and had to do a little bit more investing so that I can make sure that this stream is going to be solid as we go forward. I want to also let you know that part of this process, you all are actually helping me test this week as well, whether the things that I bought Saturday night to help my stream be a little bit more substantive, if it's going to work. So if you should happen to see choppiness in the video, if it should go out of focus, if the sound or something drops off, please type into your chat window and let me know whether you're on YouTube or on Facebook, where it is. Do me a favor too, man. Part of this is, we in this age, man, where we like social media capital, man. So I need you all's help to help build some social media capital. So if you are viewing my video from either Facebook or if you're viewing it from YouTube, I need you to either like or subscribe, man, to my channel so that I can get my social media footprint up, brethren. You got to help a brother out, man. Everything ain't free. Everything free ain't free, is it? So no, I would greatly appreciate that. And then also, man, if you can take the time, if you're on Facebook or if you're on YouTube, if you can take the opportunity, share this link to your your circle of influence. There may be some other pastors, some other ministries, whether they're Adventists or not, that may want to know what it takes to stream. There may be some people who are absolutely not in ministry at all, but they just want to learn how to do streaming from their home. Please like the channel, share it with them, and we'll dip right into it. I want to let you know I'll do some questions at the end of this when we wrap it up. This is going to be kind of a brief encounter because I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time going into a whole lot of details, but I'm going to do my very best to accommodate you and share with you as much as I think is appropriate. Some of it will be technical, some of it won't be as technical, but the idea is to at least show you the great possibilities of putting on something that can be really first rate for your people. I'll be sharing my screen as well to show you kind of some of the behind the scenes look, so that as we go through this process, you'll have a good working knowledge of what's required to do a stream. So with that in mind, my brothers, I welcome you again, each of you, to the sisters as well, live streaming for pastors. This is one of my wonderful first venues to share this information with. I am Pastor Ronald Williams, D-Man, Right Reverend Dr. MDiv. My former life, I was an IT consultant to Fortune 500 companies before actually joining or becoming ministry. Getting fully called into pastoral ministry. I played with it for a little while, doing bivocational and working in corporate America, and then it got to a point where it was just a little bit overwhelming. I saw myself in the corporate environment spending more time ministering to people, doing Bible studies in a corporate culture than actually getting work done. And so at that point, it was quite clear the Lord was like, yo, man, this ain't cool. You either going to be in ministry or you're going to be in corporate. You can't do both. So I took that leap of faith, man, and joined the ranks of the Christian soldiers. And so it's a privilege to be here. Let me begin. So when it comes to streaming from a remote location, the very first most important thing, and if you want to take notes on this, I'm going to walk you from the very basic level all the way up to the technology. The very first thing that's required for remote streaming is you've got to have outstanding internet connection. It's imperative that if you're at home, if you are at your church, that you have an internet provider who is giving you the maximum amount of bandwidth that it is absolutely, positively, phenomenally available to you. I have, with Verizon, I have what they call 1 gigabyte internet. That's 1 gigabyte internet. And basically what that means is I can push out 1,000 kilobytes per second, whether it be audio, whether it be visual, video, all at the same time. So the typical bandwidth in most installations are about 20 megabits to 30 megabits. I've got 1,000 megabits coming into my home via Verizon Fios. And so the expanse of the land, the expanse of the internet speed that I have is absolutely phenomenal. What I'm going to show you, so that you can kind of understand what I'm talking about, I'm going to switch over to my screen, and what I want to show you is a snapshot of the internet by running this quick speed test. This is an internet site called speedtest.com, speedtest.net, and what you can do is you can test your bandwidth at home. So I'm going to run this test of bandwidth, and what you'll notice is it's going to run 3 quick little blurbs to kind of help me understand how much internet I've got going. This first test, don't even worry about it, and it may impact my bandwidth just a little bit as we're streaming, but we'll see how it goes. If right now it's running a quick test called a ping, where it's actually going out and seeing what's the nearest server and how long it takes to get information back and forth. So as you can see, look at my bandwidth. I am pushing, in terms of download, I'm able to download from the internet 89 gigabytes. Now I want you to keep in mind, I'm streaming at 720p. You hear my voice, and you also see video, hear my voice, and I'm running this test. All of this data that's being pushed to my internet through my internet line at the same time must be fast enough so that there's no bottlenecking. So the results of my test is I'm able to download. That means I can pull off the internet as much as 89 megabits per second. When it comes to upload, that's what I can push up to the internet. I'm pushing out to you all video and audio. I'm able to push up 125 megabits of data per second. Now remember, this test is showing you how much data is going between me and you and you and me. And so you want to have an internet site, a provider that can provide you at the minimum 100 megabytes of data per second. That's 100 megabytes of data per second. I have 1 gig, and because I'm using so much bandwidth, I'm really tapping into my maximum output. Now, I will tell you this, that these numbers fluctuate. The 89 and the 125, they fluctuate from time to time, but I at least wanted to show you what it looks like to have a high-speed internet in your home. So the very first thing you need if you're going to be doing remote streaming is you need high-speed, high-input, high internet bandwidth. Verizon, Comcast, Infinity X on the East Coast, all of these providers will get you a lot of options when it comes to your internet bandwidth. So that's the first piece. That's the first piece of this puzzle, is having internet bandwidth that can actually substantiate your desires to stream. Now at the church at Macedonia, we also have high-speed internet. And our internet at the church is even more expansive than that, because we have members who will come into the church with their PDA devices, and they'll want to go in and, they'll have either their cell phones, their watches, iPads, laptop computers. All of that will take a toll on the internet. So we have to have the bandwidth to not only handle that amount of speed, but also the streaming of our worship service. And so I just want to kind of remind you that internet bandwidth is absolutely phenomenally important when it comes to getting good service and good internet. Now, after you have your internet bandwidth at the most available bandwidth that you have available to you, step number 2 is then the equipment in terms of your software, your hardware, your computer. For me, in this instance, I am literally, you all are not gonna believe this, but this production is actually running off of a laptop computer. I'm gonna take my camera and show you the computer that I'm using. I'm running my entire operation from a laptop computer, and this is a MacBook Pro. This is a 2018 version of the MacBook. It is a MacBook Pro. It's the larger one that has I think it's 2.9 gigahertz processor. I've got a 500 megabyte, that's a half a gigabyte SSD in it. It's got I've maxed out the RAM in terms of the random access memory, so I've got 32 gigabytes of RAM on here. My video board that the computer runs from, it actually has on it as well. My computer actually has the onboard memory of my computer is at 32 gigabytes, and then I have a capture card or a video card that's in my computer that has another 5 or 4 megabytes of RAM. That's 4 MB. Why am I telling you that? You've got to have a computer that can process video imaging and audio data at a rate fast enough so that you'll be able to push out that information. Many computers today, they do have the capacity and the ability to do that. If you're looking at buying a machine, I would highly recommend something that is extremely fast and will be beneficial to you. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the specs of my machine, as it relates to the makeup of it. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. I have this is a 2017 MacBook Pro. I've got 3.1 gigahertz. It has an Intel Core i7 processor. My onboard memory is 16 gigabytes. There are 2 banks of 16 gigabytes in there. And then I have 4 gigabytes of RAM on my video card itself. Now that becomes extremely important because when you're dealing with data and videoing, you not only want your computer to be able to process information, but your video card, which is actually doing the high definition processing, that needs to have its own own RAM so that it does not impact the overall machine itself. Again, I don't want to be too technical with that, but suffice it to say, you're going to need a high power computer that will be able to process the video stream for you that you want. Now, what's amazing is we have technology in laptop computers today where we're able to do high impact streaming, and you don't need a beast of a machine that's sitting on the floor back in the day, like we did back in the day where you had to build this big old machine and it would sit on the floor to process. I mean, we have today's technology. You have so much power in laptops that it is more than appropriate or easy to stream from a laptop computer. So first thing you need to have is your network, your internet speed. Minimum, I would recommend at minimum a gigabyte of internet speed if it's possible in your area. If they don't have a gigabyte available to you, try to get 500 megabyte internet access. That means you're getting a half a gigabyte, a half a G. So a half of a gigabyte is 500 megabytes. If your provider will offer you 500 megabytes, that would be awesome. If they don't have 500 megabytes available to you, the bare minimum that you need at least to run a very good stream is going to be 100 megabits of data. So if your internet provider can give you 100 megabits of data, you'll do well streaming from home. Secondly, you need a high-powered computer that has the ability to process your web desires. So in my instance, I'm using a MacBook Pro laptop 2017. So we're now in 2020. So this laptop is already 2 generations old, and I'm still able to do high-speed 720p. My camera, both of my cameras that I am using are 1080p cameras, and I could be streaming at 1080p. However, I am choosing to not go 1080p just because it's a hindrance on the amount of data that goes out to the servers. And I am kind of, Facebook for one doesn't like 1080p for the most part in live streaming. And so I dialed it back because I can still get 720p, which is HD. It's just not the best HD, but I'm okay with that. I think you all like it as well. If you have any questions so far, just give me a shout out. Let me know if I'm going too fast. For those, it looks like we're up to 14 people right now. I'm glad for you all who are joining on. We've been talking about what it takes to get a remote website, a remote broadcast out into the virtual world, and we're talking about doing it from your home. So far we've covered internet bandwidth and we've covered the laptop. Now, here's the fun part. After you have your laptop, you've got your internet speed. The next thing that's going to be required to stream into the virtual world is a way to connect your video camera to your laptop computer. Now, I want to share with you that I'm using I actually have 2 cameras that I'm broadcasting with. This camera that I just went over to, it is a high-powered Canon HD camera. I'm going to switch over for a second and show you what it is. It is a high-powered Canon HD camera. This is a Canon X815 high-powered HD camera. I want you to see it's not very big at all, but what this does, it allows me to stream. Now, we have 2 of these cameras that we have used we have two of these cameras at the church that we use for streaming. We use two of these to stream our services each and every Sabbath. That camera alone runs about, I think we paid, I want to say $500 to $600 for that camera. It's called a prosumer camera. You have consumer cameras, which are like, entry level, if you will, for home videos and kind of low end. And then the next step up is prosumer cameras, and that's what we have. We have a prosumer camera, and then at the next level are the extremely expensive pro cameras. Now, we didn't because this was our first round of doing streaming. It really wasn't a need to go high end, because I thought with the amount of videoing that we were doing, how often we would use the camera, and we were just getting into this genre, I thought it would be great to get some good equipment, but not necessarily break the bank. And so that's that camera. Now that camera is my second camera. Now I'm going to switch over and I'm going to show you the camera that's a high-end camera. The next level camera is a camera called a Logitech C920. This is an HD 1080p camera that I'm streaming from right here. This camera, now you're not going to believe, this camera costs maybe, I think today it might be $100, maybe $130 at the most. Now this camera can do 1080p, which is the maximum, but I'm streaming to you all right now using 720p, so it can go down or it can go up. I'm going to show you a picture of this camera from the angle so you can see what I'm using to do this. This is the camera that I'm using, my second camera. As you can see, it's not very complicated. It's fairly simple to use. It sits on my computer. It's got a little lever. If I wanted to, I could lay this on a desk and then have it arched up, or I can mount it on my computer as I have been doing, and then use it to visually connect with me. Basically, what I do is I place it on the lid of my laptop, and then once it's on the lid of my laptop, I pretty much angle it to the place where I want it to be, and there you go. We rolling. That camera costs it's about $120 at the most, I believe. Now this camera is probably, I want to say maybe 8 years old, and so this may not be available now, but there is a newer version of this camera which I'm sure can't be any more than $150 though, honestly. This camera will, and probably today they probably have a 4K camera that's this size. This camera does have a speaker and microphone built into it. Now watch this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you the camera microphone so you can see the difference in sound. I'm going to turn off one microphone. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. This is the camera microphone on my C920. If you can hear my voice, can you type in either in the YouTube channel or on Facebook whether the sound is better, worse, about the same? Why don't y'all give me a shout out? Let me know what you think about the sound. How's it sound on Facebook? How's it sound in YouTube? This is the camera that's built. This is the audio microphone that's built into this camera. How's it sound to you? Let me know. Holla at me. Do you have a link for the items you're currently using? I can post a link off the grid. I can post a link for all of the items that I am currently using. Thank you. Michelle Lawrence says it's about the same. Justin says not too bad. Okay. Listen, the microphones in these cameras is also high level, very affordable. And again, The next thing after your internet line and video quality, audio is the next best thing. And a bad audio connection can literally kill your stream. So as you see, I'm using the camera's microphone. Now here's what I'm going to do. I don't just, for streaming, I bought this other microphone that I thought was much more more professional, because I do podcasting, or I used to do podcasting a little while back, and so this was a great microphone for podcasting. And so I'm going to switch back to this microphone and let you hear it. This microphone is called a Blue Yeti microphone. Now this is a good microphone. It has a lot of sophisticated features on it, but it's really not that expensive. This is called a USB microphone, and this is what the Blue Yeti microphone looks like. As you can see, it's sort of like a studio microphone, if you will. It's got 4 different options. I could use it as a single one-way microphone. I could set it for music, so that if I want to play like a guitar, there's a different setting for guitar. It's actually a 2-way microphone, so if I was across a table from another individual and we were having a dialogue, both of us would be able to talk from the same microphone from different perspectives. So it's actually multi-directional. It's a good quality microphone. This Blue Yeti cost me, I believe it cost me roughly, I want to say about $80 on Amazon. But again, I'll let you know, I'll include that in the link. So this Blue Yeti microphone is what I'm using for the most part for my audio sound. And you heard that the microphone was in the camera. You heard the microphone that was in the Logitech C920 camera. So what we've covered video, we've covered audio, we've covered the internet speed. We're building up in terms of the platform. Now, once you have your video camera chosen, and whether you won't go a prosumer grade, which is what this camera is, this is a prosumer grade, or whether you go a consumer grade camera, which is this camera, either one are going to offer you 1080p or 720p. I'm broadcasting at 720, but both of these cameras can do 1080p. As a matter of fact, this camera here, I'm actually streaming this camera at 1080p. I didn't dial this one back. That's right. This camera is streaming at 1080p, and it has a little bit differing coloration on it. I will say this: the difference between this camera here and this camera here is I'm using an extra layer of software for this camera here that actually brightens up my scene. So that's something that I'll share with you in a little bit. But anyway, so we got 2 cameras. I have a 2-camera setup. Now, we got internet, high speed, we got cameras, we got microphones, and we are now ready to talk about the background. Before we get to the software, we're almost done with the equipment. Background. Lighting, brethren, sisterin, will kill. Did I say kill? I think I said kill. Lighting will kill your production quicker than anything else. This right here is not the best lighting for this camera. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to step off scene for 1 second and see if I can't change the lighting effect and show you what I mean by actually making the lighting better. It's a little bit better. I just turned up all of the lighting in my studio so that it could look a little bit better. This lighting here is extremely bright because I've got a software running that's actually overcompensating. So in the background, this side, in the background, there's a window there, but you can't even tell there's a window because it's so much white balance. The white balance is actually off on my lighting. But what I did was I have what's called softbox lighting kits, a 3 kit. And I'm going to show that to you. This lighting kit is what allows me to put lighting in the house or in the room so that when we're doing the production, it looks good. All right, here we go. So I have 3 boxes. The first box, this is the first box right here. It's a little, oh, that doesn't look too hot, does it? There we go. This is my first lighting box. Here's the second lighting box. And then we have a third lighting box, which is called an overhead light. That one is to put shadow, that is to take out shadows off the background. What's important about lighting to understand is that good lighting will be done in what they call a 3-point format. They call it 3-point lighting. Now my lighting setup is not necessarily the best. I just threw it together because I needed to get it up and running, and so I didn't do all the specialized measuring and everything that those that are on a higher pay scale that get paid to do the kind of thing. I didn't do all that, y'all. I just said, look, let me throw this lighting up, let me get it going because I need to get it going. On this particular lighting box set, the brand of this is Cowboy Lighting. It cost me about $170, and it works phenomenally well for what I needed to do. There are, of course, cheaper options of lighting, and one of the things I like about this kit is there are 5 lights in each of the big boxes, and I can turn off and on a certain number of lights depending upon how bright I want the environment. So I'm going to go and I'm going to turn down some of the lights so you can see what I mean when I say it's able to be adjusted. So I turned off about 3 lights on each box. So I have a total of 5 lights that are lit. It's a little bit better. And if I turn off my software, you might be able to see. You may be able to see. I don't know if I want to mess with that. Let's see. There we go. So I turned off the software so that we can see a little bit better how lighting impacts. That's much better. So now you can see how bright the background was because of the lighting features of my software, but it drowned out this window back here. It's crazy. It's weird. Yeah, it drowned out this window, so you didn't even know I had a window back there because the lighting was so whitewashed out. So right now I'm running about 5 lights, including the overhead light. I'm going to turn lights back on and brighten it up. All right, there we go. So that's lighting box. That's the lighting. I turned my software off so we can have a more balanced approach to the lighting, and I think we got more in sync lighting. You can see the blues a little bit better. There is a yellowish background in the office because I do have kind of a beige paint on the background. I don't have white walls, but because the software that I was using from one camera was overcompensating, it kind of whitewashed everything out. This is what lighting does. Lighting requires you to kind of take into some consideration what you're doing. Here's the camera, the C920, with the software added to it so that it kind of blurs out or whites out the background of the room. It's not really this light in my room. This is more of a realistic picture of what the back of my room looks like from this high definition camera. So what we've talked about, folks, we've got cameras, we've talked about internet speed, we've talked about audio, and now we've talked about lighting. We're almost there. The final piece now, once you got all this equipment, the next piece to the puzzle for streaming online is going to be then, how do I produce the imaging that I want to produce so that I can broadcast to the world what's going on. What's important to know, beloved, is once you have these cameras, none of these cameras come with wiring for them. You have to buy the wires to connect the cameras to your computer. So for example, you know Mac is notorious. Oh, I hate Mac sometimes. Mac is notorious for requiring you to get a dongle, right? So when it comes to the Mac computer, one of the things that is required, I have a C920 camera. I have a C920 camera. This is the C920 camera, but it's a USB camera. So here's the USB cable, but I had to buy a dongle from Mac to go into the USB-C port. So this camera is connected to this USB port, and that allows me to feed into my computer. Now, my high definition camera, this high-end camera needs another unique device called, here it is, an Ultra Studio mini recorder. This mini recorder takes the camera signal from here out of the camera, and then it brings it into this box, and then this box comes into my computer via another Mac dongle, because you know Mac got all these doggone imports. But what it does is it allows me to transmit a signal from the camera into the computer. Once your camera is connected to your computer, now you got a signal coming into the computer, but you need to get the signal out of the computer to the virtual world. Here's where the fun part come in. This is where we make our money right here. Yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. This is where we make our money. All right. There is a software. There are two options for broadcasting live software to the virtual world so that you can maybe project yourself. There are two companies that have options. There are probably more than two, but these are the two that I know I'm most familiar with. There's a company called, there's a software called OBS. I'm going to switch over to my computer. We're going to literally go look it up and see what OBS stands for, where we can find it, what it tells. Google, we're going to go to Google. We'll type in OBS Studio. Here you go. OBS Studio. Open broadcaster software. Now, you see it can run on Windows or Mac or Linux. This software, the reason I'm telling you about it is because it is absolutely free. This software here allows you to stream out to the virtual world for free. It costs you nothing to get it, and it will get you running, and you'll be able to use this as your broadcast software. Now, the challenge with OBS and any broadcast software is you got to have a place where you're trying to stream your signal to, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, your website, if you're running a church ministry, wherever you're trying to send your signal to, you need some software that will translate your data from your computer to that site so that it can be broadcast. OBS is one provider that allows you to do this kind of streaming, and this software is absolutely free. Now, you know, beloved, that whatever you get for what you pay for. Let me put a disclaimer out here. I've never used OBS software. I've heard and watched YouTube channels of folks who have used OBS. I'm not putting it down. I'm not saying it's bad software or anything of that nature. I'm just not that familiar with it in terms of using it. I've heard good things about it. I heard it does a real good job with broadcasting. I stick to what I know to be pretty good and pretty reputable companies. So the only reason I'm not sharing with you about why I'm not really endorsing OBS is only because I don't have a lot of experience with OBS. I use instead a software that we call that is called Wirecast. It's called Wirecast, and I have found Wirecast for the most part to be a really good piece of software. Give me 1 second here while I do a little fixing. One of the things that I'm trying to do is I want to show you on the software side. I want to show you what I am trying to do. We'll make this that camera, and then we'll make this one the screen capture. What I'm doing, beloved, is I'm actually just editing a shot so I can... Oh, I messed that up. I messed that up. Let's do it a different way. Let's do it this way. This is the one I don't need. Yeah, I don't need that one. Give me 1 second here. I'm just switching some things up. We're gonna make this screen capture 1. Should have did this before I got you all on the link, but I forgot I was gonna need this shot. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay, sweet. There we go. All right. Perfect. All right. Okay. So what I want to do, I just want to set up a really quick shot to show you what I'm doing with OBS and Wirecast. Okay. So here is OBS. It's a free piece of software. The other software vendor that I use is Telestream. It's called Wirecast. Wirecast is probably the most popular brand of streaming software. It is absolutely phenomenal. Here's the price for Wirecast in the Pro version. We have the Pro version, which is $800. There's a Studio version, which is $600. Depending upon what you want to do, whether this is for personal use or for your home use, you can get whichever version you feel most comfortable with. Here's Wirecast, and here's why I want to show you what Wirecast can do. Wirecast is actually the software that I'm using to run this broadcast. It's allowing me to switch behind the scenes and do all kinds of different things with my broadcast, and you're able to see it. As you can see, I just expanded the screen. In Wirecast, what happens? We have what's called layers that allow me to produce on screens certain things. So I'm going to switch over to here. Here's what my screen looks like behind the scenes at Wirecast. This is what you see when I turn my screen on to you. This is what it looks like to you. But behind the scenes, when I come to Wirecast, this is what my screen looks like. In Wirecast, you have the capacity. You're doing like audio, video. You're basically you're a director of a producer of a show. You are literally having to change, transition, and all of that good stuff. Wirecast allows you the opportunity to broadcast from different cameras. So so right now I have a camera. Here's my main camera right here. This is the one that's sitting on my laptop pointed at me. Here's the camera that is on the tripod that's next to me. I'm going to show you what I did behind the scenes as I look at Wirecast. As you can see, there's a yellow border around what we consider to be the shot that I'm actually live with right now. This yellow shot can switch over to another shot, and I just took myself off of the screen, if you notice. Or I can go down here and turn myself off the screen altogether and just go back to camera live. And when I go back to camera live, you see my face. Wirecast is the production software that allows you to push your video stream out of your computer into the social media world. Now, the challenge with Wirecast is this. It is not cheap, as we've already said. It's very expensive to actually purchase Wirecast, but it is well worth the money if you're looking to invest in some high-level professional streaming software. The thing that I like about Wirecast the most is simply this. Wirecast allows you to stream to multiple sites at the exact same time. So at this time, I'm pushing out a video audio session, a webinar. I'm putting it out to Facebook. I'm putting it out to my YouTube channel at the same time from one computer. So I could actually send this out to my website. It was supposed to be on my website too, but I realized my website had some challenges and I didn't feel like getting into that in terms of customizing and changing some stuff, troubleshooting it. So I just let that go. But Wirecast allows you to send out your video stream to more than one place at a time from one computer location. So if you've got a large audience, if your church has a Facebook page, you can send everybody to your Facebook page to view your service. If you've got a YouTube channel, you can send all your guests to your YouTube channel. If you have Facebook and YouTube, you can send them there. You can stream to Twitter. You can stream to a lot of third-party vendors. There are companies out there like RealStream and Sermon.net. There's quite a few places out there that you can actually pay to stream your services to. Wirecast helps you, just like OBS, Wirecast helps you to get your information off your laptop into the social media world, and for that, that's the final piece in this overall puzzle to broadcasting your services or streaming from a remote location. I know it's a lot. It could be a little overwhelming, but I wanted to at least walk you through the initial pieces to the puzzle. And if you have any questions, what I want to do now is kind of transition to the questions that you may have if you're on Facebook or if you are on YouTube. Let me know what's on your mind. Type in your question, and as best I can, I will try to answer your questions. It looks like we have by now, looks like we've got 4 people still hanging on here. Okay, so do you have any questions, beloved? Any concerns? Let's see. Man, okay, so either I'm that good or you all don't have, or either you're overwhelmed with too much data, too much information regarding your questions. Oh man, this is awesome. This is awesome. Okay. Well, I will take it that you all don't have any questions and that perhaps I've been pretty thorough in the presentation. If that is the case, then if there are no questions, please let me know if I can be of service to helping you all walk through this process. I know someone had mentioned earlier if I could send out a link to all of the equipment that I have kind of gone over, and I can certainly send you out a list if you are honestly interested in going and seeing a little bit more detail, how to customize and other things of that nature. I am willing to do some other webinars type stuff to get into a lot of the bells and the whistles of the software. Wirecast truly is an awesome piece of software. OBS will get the job done as well. Again, the challenge with OBS is it's open source, which means it's free. So what you have, and when you have free software there, it's pretty much been developed by the public domain, and so there may be certain bells and whistles that are made that you would find in Wirecast that are not going to be in OBS, because OBS doesn't necessarily have one provider building into it and making it the best that it can be. You have several people developing a piece of software, and they're putting it out there in the public space for free. So you'll kind of have to manage between the two of those. I would definitely say you can't go wrong with either option. They are both appropriate for streaming from a remote location. If I were going to be streaming my worship services, though, I certainly would not want to I wouldn't want to use OBS. There was one more option that I did not even discuss in terms of streaming from a church website. Now, from your church building proper. Here are the questions. Here are the questions. They're coming. Can OBS stream to multiple platforms? That's a good question, Richard. Let me check real quick. I believe it can. It should be able to. Let me check real quick what they say on their software. Normally they can stream to multiple sites at the same time. Let me see. Streamline. It can stream to multiple providers, Martin, but it does not say it can stream to the multiple providers at the same time. It does say it's like it can stream to YouTube. It does have the capacity to stream to YouTube, but it does not say, at least initially on their website, that it can stream to them at the exact same time. So that's a good question to consider. I don't use it, so I'm not very familiar with whether it can do simultaneous streaming. Good question though. Robert Best says you can, can I make it with OBS alone? You can definitely make it with OBS alone. It's very stable in terms of the product that has been developed. So it's not it's not badly developed or designed. It's really good piece of property, a good piece of software. It does a really good job at streaming. So yeah, if you want to just start out with something free and play around with it, kind of get to know it, and actually put on a production style streaming, you can definitely do it with OBS. Any other questions? I was going to share with you. There was one other thing I could get into, which I did not share with you all. When it comes to streaming, right now I'm streaming to both YouTube and I'm streaming to Facebook. I'm switching over to the YouTube to see if there's any questions. Precious Hayden says, do you need two computers in order to see analytics while you are recording? Oh, Precious, look at me. She all sophisticated. Precious is asking some sophisticated questions. No, you don't need two computers. That's a great question. You do not need two computers in order to see analytics. And that's what I like about Facebook. That's what I like about Wirecast. Wirecast will allow you to see some of the analytics of your stream from within the Wirecast environment. So for example, I'm gonna switch over to my screen real quick, and I don't know if you all can see it because it looks like it's kind of at a distance. But at the very top of my screen, you will see there. You will see a couple of areas where it lists the CPU speed. This tells me how much my CPU is working. This here tells me how many, right next to the CPU, my CPU is processing 29% capacity, which means if I got 100%, that's bad news. But I'm only broadcasting, my CPU is only using up 27% of its energy, which is great. There are 3 people that are online live that are currently watching the stream at the same time. That's according to the YouTube. That's according to, now it's 4. It also tells me the number of kilobytes that I'm broadcasting at. Right now, I'm broadcasting at 3 megabits per second. It's going down to 2, it's down to 1. Kind of keeps fluctuating. And there were 2 megabits that were dropped as well. There also, this green light over here tells me that I am live, and it tells me how long I've been on stream. So I've been on stream for an hour and 14 minutes. Now, you wanted to know also, Precious, about analytics. Here's where your Facebook comes in, and here's where Facebook and YouTube come into play. I'm streaming live right now from Facebook and YouTube. Here on my page, you can see some details. According to this, I have 3 current viewers on YouTube. There have been 15 playbacks so far. The average watch time has been 12 minutes, but here's the analytics page within YouTube so that you can see what your channel is doing or what your stream is doing. I'm going to go to the next tab, which is Facebook. Facebook looks like this. Facebook does not necessarily give you the analytics, obviously, so I got to come over here to Stream Health. And when I come over here to Stream Health, it tells me the number of megabits that I'm using video. It tells me the frame rates that I'm streaming at, and it tells me how many kilobytes audio is using. It tells me that during this time, I'm streaming at 720p, and I do recall that one of Facebook's challenges, beloved, is that Facebook only will allow you to live stream at the maximum of 720p. They will not allow you to do 1080p or even 4K on Facebook. This particular stream can go for 8 hours. That's the most amount of time I can have for free. Right now, the resolution is 1280 by 720, which means I'm 720p, and it tells you the format of the audio. This window on the lower right side is my preview window. If I was running the live stream, this window would show you what you would see. It would show you my web page because that's what I'm showing you all. But this window is not live because I'm trying to make sure I don't use up bandwidth on my as I'm projecting. And then it tells you over to the left side who's all on and the chat line. Okay, so this is being done through Wirecast. And this is how you're able to do your analytics. You're able to use the Wirecast software. You set up Facebook page. You set up your Facebook page or channel, and you can set up YouTube to actually stream. And we can do another webinar on those because those areas get a little bit more complicated. And I didn't want to overwhelm you right at this juncture. This was just meant to be an introduction webinar. Any other questions? Any other questions for anyone else before we clock out? Man, I appreciate you all jumping on here. I hope it has been helpful to you. And just in the recap, real quick, what we covered today, so you'll know what we did. We talked about internet bandwidth being the very first thing that you got to make sure you have if you're going to stream remotely. The minimum amount of internet bandwidth that you need to have is 100 megabits per second bandwidth. That's the minimum. I know the Comcast, Xfinity, Verizon Fios, they do offer at least 100 megabytes of bandwidth, and that's up and down. If you can get more than that, you would be much better off for your internet speed, because the more bandwidth you have, the more things you can do as you're streaming audio and video at the same time, and to the number of platforms. I must remind you, which I did not say this earlier, when it comes to bandwidth, we're talking about streaming to multiple locations. When I showed you the speed test for my computer, we had an upload speed of 125 megabits per second. The download speed was like 89 megabits per second. In order to stream out to two different resources, that bandwidth that you push out must be fast enough to go to both places at the same time and give you the same amount of quality. So the more bandwidth you have going up, the more data you can send out to the respective providers, so that they can stream your data then out to the larger context, to the larger world. That's why I'm saying to each of you, you need at minimum, I would say you need at minimum 100 megabits to stream out to at least one site. And for two sites, I would try to get more than 100 megabits, just to be on the safe side. It's better to have more room than to not have more room. Imagine bandwidth this way. It's a 5-lane highway going one way versus a 2-lane highway going one way. Which one is going to be able to substantiate more traffic? Obviously, the 5-lane highway. If you don't need 5 lanes during rush hour, then of course a 2-lane highway would be great. But if you need 5 lanes during rush hour and you only got 2 lanes, that's what you're going to run into in terms of bandwidth, trying to get your bandwidth out if you don't have a big enough pipeline. It will be jammed, packed, and everybody will be slow trying to get to their destination. So the more bandwidth you have, the better. So that's internet provider. Second thing is, we talked about the cameras. We talked about consumer grade cameras, which was the C920, which is the small little camera. And the camera I'm looking at in here is the Canon, it's called an XA15. This is called a prosumer camera. We talked about the two needs to have, depending upon what you want to do. Both of these cameras do 1080p, but I'm broadcasting at the level of 720p on one and 1080p on the other. We talked about the connection between your camera and then the laptop computer or your desktop computer. We talked about, if you're going to do a prosumer grade camera, 9 times out of 10, you're going to need what's called a Ultra Studio Mini Recorder or Blackjack device. This little box will allow you to connect a prosumer grade to your laptop or to your device. If you are running like a USB camera, which I showed you with the C920, that was the small one that plugs right into a USB device. You don't need anything else between the camera and your computer. We talked about if you have a MacBook Pro laptop computer, I showed you how you can literally run your stream from a MacBook Pro laptop. We're not using a big desktop computer, some high power base machine that sits on the ground. I'm doing this entire stream from a 2017 MacBook Pro computer that has 3.1 gigahertz of processor speed. It has 32 gigabytes of RAM on the board. It has 4 megabytes of RAM on a pro level video card inside of it. And it is a i7. It's an Intel Core i7. The i7 just means that the chip, the processor chip on this computer, it is called it's at least a quad core. I believe i7 means it has 7 cores. So it is able to produce whatever it's going to do in the background at 7 times the speed of a single core. So you want a computer that's as fast as possible when it comes to streaming. We talked about the lighting system. The lighting system that you use is extremely important. I showed you I have a soft box lighting system that costs about $180 for 3 of them. There are 2 that sit on the floor, and then there's an overhang light that shines light down on me so we can avoid as many shadows as possible. Then we talked about microphones. I'm using the Blue Yeti microphone, which is a nice little USB microphone that you plug into your computer. If you buy a consumer grade camera like the Logitech C920, this camera has a microphone built into it. What I did not mention, I also have a microphone built into my laptop that I could have used during this production. But I choose to turn off that microphone and use the Blue Yeti because it supposedly sounds a lot more professional. It has a lot more clarity to it, and it's just a better device than the onboard microphone or the microphone from the C920. And then lastly, we talked about software. OBS was an option to use for your broadcast software, or you could use Wirecast. And notice I'm switching between cameras. That's what Wirecast and OBS will do. It allows you, like a producer, to change camera angles and put certain things on the screen. So you actually wind up being the man running your production studio. And so you want to be able to do things like this, and Wirecast and OBS will help you do. Well, thank you all for your time. It's been a good run, man. An hour and a half. Time flies when you're having fun. It's been a good run. I appreciate you all sharing your time with me. If you've got any questions, you can hit me up, email me, let me know. I'm here at your disposal, or you can give me a call via phone, and I appreciate that, everybody. If there's nothing else, just making sure. Off the grid, great job. What are you using for a video switcher? The video switcher was Wirecast. Precious Hayden, vendors. That would be Telecast, Apple, Canon, those things. I'll put the equipment in the in the in the descriptions of these links on Facebook as well as on YouTube, so you'll be able to see the equipment that I used. Let me see if on Facebook Live was there anything else. Okay, Justin, you're welcome. Francis, you're welcome. Appreciate you all. Thank you all for the opportunity to share with you. I hope that you get ministry done in a high-powered, high-impactful way. May God bless you all. Be safe out there. We know that God will bless his people, but let's also practice good social distancing. And I appreciate you all. Have a great rest of the day, and God bless.
Joanna, your busy body busy tonight. Joanna, making all the dummy tonight. Joanna, your busy body giving me life, oh, hey life, hey. Why you do me like Joanna?